Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the DFL Podcast for Week 8 of the NFL. You're here with Rowan and Arch, and once again, mate, it's good to be back. I'm excited for this week. It's a messy slate.
It's a gross slate, let's be honest.
But I love the gross slates.
Yeah, that's, hopefully it rewards those who stick it out with us and put some good research in.
Exactly. That's it. That's why people are here. That's why they're listening. That's why they're watching. So, guys, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Get in on the TikTok action and check out a little
social
shorts.
influencers that we are. That's
right.
On bloody TikTok.
That's it. At the TFL Podcast. You can find us all there.
Where else?
If you're watching on YouTube, then we would love it if you could take the time to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. If you're checking us out on a podcast, hey, jump over to YouTube, like and subscribe. Thanks.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
See our beautiful faces as we talk crap. I must say, look, it's great, the YouTube subscribers we do have. I was having a little look at analytics, and we have 3/4 of our viewers not subscribed, Ron. So I reckon we can fix that today. So click that 100%. Button. Click it.
Yes, please do. That's a shock. That's an absolute shock. Anyway, we love that you're here. We love that you're watching. If you are listening to us on podcast, check us out on YouTube because you get to see us go through the Draftstars prices. It's all there. We like to kind of highlight our plays and stuff like that. So jump on as well. If you want to join Draftstars, you can use our link bit.ly/join Draftstars and play along with us. We have a weekly competition as well, bit.ly/TFL Week 8. It's awesome. It's $5, single entry. You play with anyone who's anyone on Draftstars, which is fantastic.
I got close this week, Rowan. Got close. I think I was sick.
Yeah, you're pushing up there. I cashed as well, thankfully. Like it was it's been a while since I cashed in the TFL contest.
Yeah. Have our own contest. We can't even make money out of it. What's the bloody point?
That's right. But thinking about last week,
yes.
I had a good week. Arch. It was,
you did.
It was good fun. Number 2 in the micro, number 3 in the mini. Just couldn't crack the top this week. Yes. Oh, man. I was just hoping Tyler Lockett would get like a couple more yards. But it was fun times. A couple of things that went my way. Held on to Burrow. And, man, he's just going shotgun crazy, which is fantastic. Chase and Boyd. And I think that's the thing. Don't be afraid of if something like Burrow. I wasn't afraid of Boyd. And that was really important. That was really important for my teams last week. So we look at, these great quarterbacks that can actually service a lot of pass catches. And when you're doing that, if you want to take these things out, you can't be afraid of these things. Yeah. So anyway, Boyd was a really important pick for me as well. And really, who needs a bring back in that game? Because there was nothing on the other side there of Cincinnati. Pittsburgh were rubbish. So anyway, so that was me. I had a great week. How are you, mate?
Look, we escaped with just a slight loss. Didn't quite break even, but I try to get too cute, Rowan. I thought I'd try to fade Burrow after the big week, and went back to Lamar and Brady, and so they didn't help me out. My Herbert kind of got me there, and Mahomes kind of bailed me out a bit as well. Really happy with all the pieces that I put in, but I just didn't pair well with the stacks. And so I was on Boyd. Boyd was my leverage play off of what I thought was going to be a very chalky Burrow Chase stack. And so hitting Boyd was nice and I felt good, but then Burrow just kept going after.
He did.
Because Boyd went early and I'm like, beauty. Now slow down, Burrow. But no, not to be. Anyway, we'll on to the next one. It's when I'm primarily just playing the mini, Rowan, I'm really having to make those tough calls on who to fade. And so, and that's, we're playing to win. We're not playing to just min cash. And so you're going to have weeks where you just don't hit in the hope that one week you just absolutely go ballistic. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. For me, one of the things that probably stopped me from taking top spot was I still had a decent amount of Josh Jacobs. Obviously, he was absolutely phenomenal last week. But I went Adams a little bit more than the rest, and I was really hoping that might have picked up and Adams might have scored a touchdown in there. If that had happened, that would have helped my single entry teams especially. But that's all right. You take the wins that you get anyway. If you are watching with us on YouTube, hey, jump in the chat. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you as we go. Any questions, any thoughts about the upcoming slate, and we want this to be interactive, build a community as always. But you've done a bit of a flex study, and I like this.
Yeah.
This is to do with that extra spot right at the end of your roster, and who are we playing, and what's common? What's common amongst the winners in the top 10s?
Yeah, look, I've just been thinking this is not a normal year in terms of fantasy. I don't know if you felt that, Rowan. Like, I think overall scoring is down, like something of 20% fantasy points. I think I've heard somewhere. Don't quote me, but and so I was just thinking, like, generally you're shooting for ceilings in GPPs, and so the ceilings often come with those wide receivers and so I've sort of been thinking, my wide receivers pretty much go on the flex all the time, and so, but then I was thinking, things just aren't quite right. So I went and did a bit of a dive on every main slate for this year. So looking at the main and the micro together as sort of Draftstars mass multi-entry MME type tournaments they've got, and then the mini as well as a bit of a 15 max, which you play differently, obviously, when you don't have 100 to 150 entries, and so it was quite interesting, and it turns out that my inklings were correct, Rowan, that running backs are getting teams in the top 10 more often than wide receivers, but not by a huge amount. So if you look at the MME, the main and the micro, it's 47% flex spots in top 10 lineups are running backs, 46% are wide receivers, and only 7% tight ends. So double tight ends rarely pays off. Yeah. I think week 1 or week 2, the double tight end teams were 2 punt play tight ends that just jumped into the top 10. So
they got lucky twice.
Yeah, got bloody lucky. Two guys did, 2 different lineups. Sure. But the rest were pretty much Mark Andrews when he was doing well. Other than that, you weren't seeing tight ends in the flex spot. So pretty much you can go either way. Like there's nothing saying that you must do one or the other. It's just saying, look, play good plays and it, don't think you have to be welded to a wide receiver. And in fact, if you go with 15 max where, you can get, it's sort of, you're playing a little bit more safer. Well, other players are. When you only have 15 entries, players are sort of kind of keeping to sort of cash type lineups-ish, like still, trying to stack and stuff like that. We had 54% running backs in flex spots and only 39% wide receivers. So I guess the running backs help. I think this year seem to have that safer floor, but also the wide receivers aren't hitting the ceilings that we hope for the way teams are playing this year. So going into, I think now looking at, as a mini player who likes those, smaller field tournaments, that I'm probably going to lean a little bit more into running back heavy lineup builds.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's often we think of like high upside, high volatility goes to the wide receivers, but really the running backs have been stellar this year. And I think pricing is really important when we think about what Draftstars has done. And I think there have been a lot of those cheaper plays at running back, and it's easier to project with running backs. And I think as well, you think of guys like Damian Pierce and Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, these younger guys who have come into really solid situations, especially the last probably 3-4 weeks. It's easier to jump on them when they're still priced low. So it makes sense that these guys are kind of pushing people up the leaderboards. Anyway, I love that. Bit of a study.
Oh, whoa! I've gone early!
Matchups.
Yes, we're ahead for the good time. Oh, no! That never happens, Rowan. That never happens.
This is just your way of saying, hurry up, mate. Let's just get into it. He's
legitimately accidentally hit the iPad.
Love it. Hey, I was ready for it. That was the next thing we were going to do. So, week 8 matchups. Here we go. Let's get into it.
Yes.
We're starting with Miami at Detroit. Detroit are 3-point home dogs with an over-under of 51.5, which is the most enticing thing. But there's a few buts coming in this place. But let's just have a look at Miami. It's interesting looking at like their team stats because Tua's been injured. The first 3 weeks, Miami were 3rd overall in pass rate over expectation. They were gunning for it. They were using Waddle, using Hill, making the most of that spot. And you particularly look at that Baltimore game early on where Tua won people a lot of money. So that was early on. So then the last 4 weeks has been, what's the real Miami? And that's the big question here that I think that we have. What is the real Miami? Because overall, in their last 4 they're only 22nd in pass EPA per play. That's expected points expected points added per play. They're 13th in pass rate over expectation. So I'm looking at this going, look, is this a Miami team that I really want to jump on? But we got to remember they're playing Detroit. Detroit, defensively, they are 31st in pass DVOA, 29th in rush DVOA, 31st overall in defensive DVOA. They're rubbish. They continue to be rubbish. So it's a smash spot. And the question has to be asked, is Tua healthy? Is he back to his best? And are Hill and Waddle ready to go? And obviously there are some question marks, I think, over Waddle this week as well. But it's a great environment. So I'm looking at Tua. He's priced there at 13,850, which is, that's fine. That's pretty solid. So I'm happy to go there. Especially because of the weapons. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's the weapons. Yeah. I think another question I have is, what's the ownership going to be like? Because I think people look at this slate and go, it's a bit ugly. And when it's a bit ugly, what do we defer to? Often we're deferring to the defense. What's the defense giving up? And so and the clear defense that we want to attack in terms of stacking and quarterbacks, it's this one. It's Detroit that we want to attack. So I'm looking at this going, okay, it might be quite chalky. We're looking at Hill and Waddle, and Hill's priced up, right? He's 18,410. He's the second highest guy. It's massive. But the reality is, he's an explosive playmaker. Yeah. And he could burst down for a couple of 60-yard touchdowns in this game. And, he pays off on that $18,000 price tag. So I kind of like it. I kind of like Hill because if the price is going to scare people off, well, we know that the ceiling is there. And so if you can get to him, then it's pretty juicy. It's pretty juicy. Even though, right, you're paying 32% of your salary if you're going to stack Tua and Hill together. But this is a place, if Tua's actually going to get there, like he's not going to do it with his legs. He's going to get his ceiling through the air. And if that's the case, you need a double stack. Like Tua is a double stack spot. Yeah. So you're going to put Hill and Waddle together. That's probably the best way forward. Now, Gesicki's been getting involved.
I don't mind Gesicki.
He's cheap as. He's really cheap. So let me just, for those who are on YouTube, let me just bring my screen up here. We're going to have a look at these Miami guys. And yeah, there's Gesicki sitting there at $5,870.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
You're gonna want that when if you've got Tua and Hill on the in the same lineup.
Yeah, it's good salary relief. And one of the things I've been really thinking about lately is who are we pairing tight ends with? Yeah. And when it's a guy at the top of the price list, it's kind of okay to let them just be who they are. Mark Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle, these guys, you can let them go because their ceiling is there. They don't need the quarterback to go off for them to go off. But if you're looking at guys priced low, people like Gesicki, and we'll talk about a few later on, I kind of want to put them with someone because if they do well, chances are the quarterback's actually done well. Like there's a correlation there that I kind of want to hit on. So I'm kind of leaning into that a little bit more. So I'm going to test it out over the next few weeks. Like if I'm going to play punt plays, then I'm going to prefer to go with the quarterback that they're attached with. Anyway, so Gesicki here is a great stacking option as well. But let's talk about one guy that I really am bullish on, and he's priced in a really nice spot, and that's Raheem Mostert. Oh, yeah. 570. Chase Edmonds has gone. Like they've just totally eradicated him from the game plan.
Yep, just like my season-long fantasy teams.
That's right. Raheem Mostert, though, is killing it. He's doing really well. Pittsburgh, 4 for 30 in the air even, received a touchdown.
Yes.
You're not going to see that every week.
No.
But 79 on the ground. A couple of weeks ago, before that, the Jets, 113 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Mostert has earned the spot, and I think he's the perfect leverage off of this stack because I honestly think this stack's going to be popular.
Yep.
Tua's priced really nicely. He's not one of the top two guys. He's just sitting there in the 13K. And people are going to want to go to that against Detroit. But really, I think the best way to tackle this game is actually, it's a safer way in my mind, and that's through Mostert. So I'm gonna have a bit more of him, hopefully, than the field. That's my goal in this matchup. Let's look at the other side of the ball, though. You got Detroit, and you got Jared Goff. You could, I guess, but I don't want to. He's really been rubbish. Like, he's just aside from some absolute spike games, especially that the Seattle game, and he has those. I guess if you really want to think that this might be a spike game for him, there's two things that need to happen. That means Amon-Ra St. Brown needs to play, Josh Reynolds needs to play, so the wide receivers, and I think you need Swift to play.
Yes.
And the health of this team, far out. It is so hard to know what's actually going on for Detroit at the moment in terms of their injury. So if I'm looking at their current injury report, it's early on in the week, so we can't entirely see what's going on. But you've got Amon-Ra, who's got a limited practice. Had that concussion protocol put on top of him. Now, DeAndre Swift is full practice, so that's great. He's in there, which is fantastic. Josh Reynolds, though, didn't practice, and I'm pretty sure, interestingly enough, DJ Chark is off of the injury report, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes back on or he's finally ready to play. But TJ Hawkinson didn't practice either. So in terms of what's going on in Detroit, it's a bit scary for mine. And Miami, defensively, they're actually not half bad. Yep. They're 20th overall, which is but they're actually 7th in terms of DVOA. They're actually 7th in rush DVOA. They're really stopping the run. And that brings us to our fate of the week. So we're going to click that button.
I declare bankruptcy!
DeAndre Swift is our fade of the week. A few reasons. He's priced up. $14,560 for a guy that's coming back off injury is scary for me when there's other guys around him that have just been blitzing it. So to look at Swift, yes, he's a pass catcher, so yes, there's some upside there, but the price is off-putting for me. Like I said before, Miami, 7th in rush DVOA, so they're doing well against the run. And you've got limited upside because if Jamal Williams is around, then he's got goal line carries as well.
Yep.
So even though DeAndre Swift is a fantasy gun, this week against Miami, he is a fade for us.
Couldn't agree more, Rowan.
Good stuff.
Although sometimes I always think about, are some plays so bad that they could be good?
You galaxy brain it, don't you? You just start going crazy in your mind.
But maybe I want to get in early, Rowan.
That's right.
Yeah, no, probably not. Probably.
I'm going to pass.
There's better value.
Definitely. Hawkinson, 8,810, but he didn't practice, so you got to watch that space. Really, the only way I want to stack this game is Tua, and I want 2 of Hill, Waddle, or Gesicki. It's clear as day in that regard. And you bring it back with Amon-Ra. If Amon-Ra gets out of this concussion protocol and he's good to go again, he's a bit of a smash play, to be honest. Amon-Ra St. Brown is sitting there at 13,000, and his ceiling is bigger than what his price says. So
I wonder if people are going to be too scared to hit the button on him.
I kind of hope so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so either stack it with Tua, but you could always do a mini stack with Amon-Ra and Hill or Waddle as well. So Amon-Ra's just the only piece really at Detroit that I want. So that's Miami and Detroit. We're going to move on to Las Vegas at New Orleans.
I mean, Rowan, what do we do about this game? We're talking about this as the number 2 game on our slate. It's 40. It's been bet up to a 49 over under. So people are thinking that there's points to be had, and only Vegas are only 2-point favourites. So it's thinking it's going to be a bit of a back and forth. So no one team dominating in terms of implied point total, but on a gross slate, this potentially is as good as it's going to get. And we'll talk about a game after this that might even be more popular than this one because people just aren't going to feel too great about these two teams. Well, there are some reasons why you want to go with it. But I guess one thing that just worries me a little bit, Rowan, is, New Orleans in the last 3 weeks, they're 29th in pass rate over expectation. They are just happy with Josh Jacobs just, sitting on the ball and doing his thing. And it has been great. Raiders are 25th in pass rate over expectation as well over the last 3 weeks. Sorry, I've got my teams around the wrong way. How's that? Woo! Because Josh Jacobs plays for the Raiders, Rowan.
Yes,
but both teams basically, as I'm saying, they're happy to sit on the ball a little bit over the last 3 weeks. They're not passing too much, as I just completely balls that up. Anyway, we can cut that out for editing. 3, 2, 1, pause.
That's what we do here. We edit.
Also, look, but the other thing that concerns me about this game is Both teams are 24th and 26th in neutral game script pace of play. With only a -2, line here, there is potential that this could slow down and just be a bit of a grind here. There is an option. There is a path that this game could fail, but I'm pretty optimistic that it won't. I think more likely that there's if we look at the two teams, that the defensively they're not going to be able to stop the pass. Dalton and his ragtag band of mates. The Raiders in the air are 31st in pass EPA per play on the year defensively. They're 26th in explosive pass percentage. Hello Olave. Things are looking like this could be a spot where Dalton could really, air it out here. Raiders also 30th in pass DVOA defensively. They give up the most scheduled adjusted fantasy points to QBs as well. And third most adjusted fantasy points to wide receivers. So they are not a defense that are going to stop the pass. And so whilst, things are, looking like, as a whole, the team could, don't pass as much. It's where they need to attack the Raiders. And so definitely. On the other side, the Raiders want to pass as well. Lattimore's out. Devontae Adams is, looking like a smash spot here as well. Saints are also 29th in pass EPA per play defensively. They don't know how to stop the pass either. So this is what, whilst, yes, their pass rate over expectation worries me a little bit, I think that when you look at what they're giving up, that, the clear path to beat, the opposition on either side is through the air. So if we look, let's focus in on Las Vegas to start with. Carr, he's a decent spend down option. There's as a sub 12K guy, you could do worse. If you think that this is the way this game is going to go through the air, you obviously have to play Adams with Carr. I don't know how you'd play Carr with anyone else. So there's that. And I think potentially Jacobs is still going to be pretty popular. They've priced him up this year by over 2K. But look at those last 3 weeks, 39.5, 33.3, 37.5, Draftstars points. That is, you pay 20K for that and you're not, you're happy, aren't you, Ron? It's
100%.
You keep pricing them up, Draftstars. I'll take him at 15K, thank you. Can we just put our priors about what Josh Jacobs has been in the past? This is who we've always hoped Josh Jacobs could be. And he never could be. But now, look, he's all right. We're getting it. If you look at him, he is 80% of his team's carries. You don't see that in the NFL these days anymore. He's 5.7 yards per carry as well. He's carrying it that much, and 34 high-value targets, 20% targets per route run as well. He's involved with the pass game. Don't let the price discourage you. Okay.
So 13 carries inside the 10-yard line, and 5 of those have been for touchdowns. He's just converting.
Honestly, the play is just too good. Now, ownership is the thing. Last week, ownership was always going to be chalky last week, but the play was too good to fade, so you had to play him. All right, you're dead if you didn't have Jacobs. This week, if you're now thinking, look, I can afford to fade him now that he's 15K, Adams is the way to go. He's the perfect leverage off Jacobs. If you believe that it's happening through the air, Carr's obviously going to have a good game with him. So you'd want to probably stack him, or you can play Adams on his own. That's fine. But he's 33% targets per route run last week, 30% on the year. He's under 16K Rowan. Devontae Adams at 15.7K. Have you ever seen that before?
No, it's been a while. It's if ever, it's juicy. It's fantastic.
And it's against a team that is just bleeding points.
Yeah,
come on. This guy is our premium player of the week.
Is he?
Is he?
Well, he's one of.
I forgot. Was he going to be our premium play? I forgot to hit the thing.
No, he's not, because we got another running back coming up later.
Yes.
Decided.
Oh, that's good.
You Muppet.
Yeah. I've just panicked. I'm I didn't hit the thing.
No, he did it. But if he's our second premium player of the week. There you go. Everyone gets a bonus premium player of the week.
Premium. Anyway,
you're on fire tonight, Arch.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, Ron. We've had an evening, like getting these kids to bed. Anyway, we don't need to know about the fact
it's a parent chat.
The fact I'm here at 8:30 is just a minor miracle, and we just thank God for that. Other reasons why we love Devontae Adams, like the Raiders on the season are 7th in pass EPA per play in the league, 5th in explosive pass percentage. Like, lock them in, okay? So it's crazy. Saints, on the other hand, 29th in pass EPA per play defensively, 31st in points per game defensively. Like, it's just, I don't see how Devontae. Like,
it's just
if you look at his points over the last, he's had a 9.2 point game. To me, I can't see him getting any worse than what he did last week at 17.5 Draftstars points. I just can't see a world where, like, Waller's still got a question mark whether he's going to return. If he does, I'm not expecting him to be a focal point. It's Adams, or that's how they're going to win. Adams to just dominate.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, speaking of Waller, just monitor those reports. I'm definitely not going to play him this week. I think after returning to injury, Saints are actually pretty good against tight ends. If you look at how many points they're giving up, I think they're like 3rd or something schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. So I'd be not too keen to just hit the button on Waller.
For sure. Yeah, I'm out on Waller.
Yep. Want a little 6K punt option, Rowan, just to fill up your lineups?
Sure.
If you're going to stack Carr with Adams, might as well throw in a Hollins at 6K.
Yeah, it's not bad.
90% of team routes he is getting involved in. He's running routes. 96% last week of routes run. Obviously, with injuries, that helps him. But they're happy with him. They want him involved. So I think with that opportunity at 6K, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and give you some salary relief somewhere else. All right? Should we look at New Orleans?
Yeah, there's a specific play that we'd like to highlight here as well.
I'll get it right this time.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you want to take the thing off the screen?
Yeah, hey, I know what I'm doing.
Inconceivable.
Andrew Dalton is our value play of the week. He's been named the starter this week, Rowan. And our good friends at Draftstars, absolutely great friends, they bet on the wrong quarterback this week. Before it was announced, they bet that Winston was going to be the starter quarterback, priced him at 12K. They left Dalton at 8K. So that's what we're going to just absolutely just go to town on. Davis Mills went 300 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Raiders last week. So what's Dalton going to do? Like, is that the floor? There's talk of Mike Thomas, Jarvis Landry, they could be back. Olave is breaking out before our very eyes. This is a smash play here. Absolute cash lock at 8K. He scored 5 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, 4 last week. Raiders, as we've said already, 31st in pass EPA per play on the year, 26 on explosive pass percentage. Hello, Olave. Raiders also 30th in pass DVOA defensively. Like, do I need to keep going, Ron? Dalton is a smash spot here. If he had 2K added to his salary, he'd still be our value of the week. At 8K, we are hitting the button on Dalton. Don't overthink it. Just play Dalton. Play Dalton!
I'm not going to argue with that. Seriously, what you can do with the rest of your lineup by playing Andy Dalton is just stupid.
$8,000!
Yeah.
And you know what I like about 3 zeros, Rowan? That really just adds to it.
Beautiful number, isn't it? It's a wonderful thing. Let's rip through the rest of New Orleans. I think we've said it all. But
Olave, love Olave. They've priced up Olave to, $11,990. Come on, make that 12 flat. Draftstars. 42% of the team's air yards, Olave. 16 yards ADOT. Like, he is 8th in weighted opportunity rate in the last 2 weeks in the NFL. That's a mixture of, the air yards and targets share. Like, he is he's killing it. Olave is going to be a superstar, so get in on him. He's 2nd in air yards per game. Like come on.
Yeah,
and this is where you're going to attack the Raiders. Kamara, can he finally get a touchdown, Rowan? Like, is he?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know if he can.
Taysom Hill jumps in there. Juwan Johnson, let's talk about him at 5K. 80% of routes run last week. Definitely could help some lineups here. Throw him into a stack. but I'd probably only want to play him if Landry and Thomas don't actually come back. Like,
I agree.
Keep an eye on that. Obviously, we need to keep an eye on those the news with injuries here. Taysom Hill, he's a hard bugger to bloody pin down, isn't he? Very low snaps. I think it's like 30% or less. Low route participation. But he has a bloody nose for the end zone, Rowan, doesn't he?
He does.
And so it's a clear high-risk, high-reward play. I'd probably look elsewhere, to be honest. If I'm stacking this game, let's go Dalton with Olave. Like, just lock that in to lots of my mini lineups, please. And probably sprinkle in some Juwan Johnson on half of those. And then I'll just bring it back with Adams or Jacobs. You know what? I might even bloody put both of them in as a bring-back, Rowan. Like, I don't care. This is a game. This could work. This could win you the mini.
I think it probably, a lot of people will be on it.
Yes.
So I think it'll be chalky. I think if we get like a 40-point performance out of Hurts or Tua, then you probably don't win the mini with Andy Dalton. All right. So I think
you have to, like, as we said, the way to win, you have to nail and hit the nuts on your other pieces with the low price quarterbacks. Like, absolutely.
You do. That's right. You need all those other.
If there's other high price guys hitting their ceilings, that's
right.
Absolutely right. But we might talk about Hurts a little bit later.
Yes, we will.
I don't mind Carr, Adams, and Hollins together with an Olave bring back as a way to get off the Dalton, like as a leverage stack off Dalton. I think that could do well. And, why not a Kamara Jacobs? No one likes playing two running backs in the same game. It doesn't correlate well. Well, that's because often two good running backs don't play against each other. It's normally a good one and a shit one. So why not, like, Jacobs and Kamara? Like, they're both, like, Jacobs has the workload. Kamara's got the pass-catching explosion. Like, it could still work. So, mini stacks as well could be a good way to go.
For sure. We saw it work last week with Kenneth Walker and Austin Eckler. And Kamara and Eckler are very similar in the way that they play. So, it's a way to go.
Anyway, enough about me.
Next up, we've got Arizona taking on Minnesota. Minnesota are 3-point favorites at home. And it's an interesting slate. Interesting game in the way that they priced it. Kyler Murray sitting there at 14,980. Again, just push him up 15,000, nice and neat. That'd be pretty, wouldn't it?
Dalvin Cook, however, look at that guy.
Oh, look, Dalvin Cook's that's it, nice and flat. Kyler Murray, he's priced appropriately in my mind. He's got a safe floor due to his rushing upside, but he hasn't. And last week they had defensive touchdowns scored by the Arizona defense, so we're not going to see a big game from him from last week. Because he just didn't need to. No. But, what he can do on the ground really can make up for a lot of stuff. Yep. So, I'm looking at this and he's got DeAndre Hopkins back. And that's a really healthy thing. We know that Kyler Murray with Hopkins is infinitely better than him without. So, Kyler Murray is an option here. He really is because, we look at Minnesota and they're okay. They're okay defensively. And, sorry, Arch, but they're one of the most mediocre teams gone around, I feel like, this year. Like, you've got superstars of Justin Jefferson, but Dalvin Cook's doing really nothing, and they're just, they're winning half their games. It's whatever. Like, it's really middle of the ground. So, I'm looking at this and going, okay, Murray's got an opportunity with his floor. I'm only going to single stack here. I'm only going to single stack with Hopkins. So, let's talk about Hopkins, though. Hopkins is sitting there at 13,370. And last week, coming off of a suspension, not having played for quite some time, pulls out 10 for 103, which is amazing, wonderful. You love seeing that. Kyler Murray's just going to keep going to him all the time. And Minnesota, if Minnesota don't throw if they don't throw pick sixes, if Kirk Cousins can actually stay the course here, then we can get a competitive game. And that's what we want. We want this to be an upbeat, competitive game. The Minnesota fan wants it so badly. So, and if that's the case, then I can see, like, Hopkins should be getting 13 plus targets in this game easily, and we know what he can do with them. Look, I don't know if they will do that. I think DeAndre Hopkins is good enough to make it work. So, look, it's really Murray and Hopkins. That's the only place I want to go in this game. Rondale, sure. He is super cheap. Rondale Moore is sitting here at 6,880, but he's just, I just don't like it. I can't bring myself to like him for a fantasy perspective. I had him in a few lineups last week. I was like, sweet. He had a 31-yard reception last week in like the first quarter. I was like, here we go. Rondale Moore. He's going to work with with Hopkins here and they're going to play tandem. Didn't happen. It's unfortunately now that Hopkins is in the team, he just sucks the life out of the other fantasy options.
90% route participation last week, though, gives me a little bit of hope. But of that, only, getting a target on 7% of the routes, though, that is run. Like, that's get open, lad. Come on.
And then they weren't scheming him at all really last week. It was just like, let's put Hopkins. And they put Hopkins in a lot of places because they used to traditionally, I think, play him on the left. And now he was in the slot, playing on the right. Hopkins was moving around, and they wanted to use, him. So I really like Hopkins, and that's really it. So Ertz as well. Look, he's sitting there. I like to call Ertz Mr. Catch and Fall Down because he doesn't like to do anything after the catch. His yak is just
in a PPR format. You keep doing that, and I don't care.
That's true. But look what happened last week when Hopkins comes back. 2 for 21. 2 for 21. No, thank you.
At 9K, no thanks. I'll look elsewhere, thank you.
Yeah.
Probably on the other side. On the other side of the ball, probably.
Yes, it's exactly where I'd like to head. So, look, Ertz, 0 ceiling. If I want to talk rush, well, you've got Connor and Williams, and Connor is sitting there, and he's been injured for a while, and he did nothing in the lead up to his injury. And he'll do nothing even if he comes back. Like, seriously, he's washed. He's done. I'm out on James Conner. Even though he's limited in practice, he's working his way back. Darrell Williams as well, limited in practice. They got the cues. They're not outs. So there's a question mark there for sure. Eno Benjamin's been the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed the guy this week. And priced at 8K is very nice. It's what you want to see from guys like this with opportunity. But Minnesota, surprisingly, have only given up 87 rush yards per game to opposing teams. That's 31st. And they're going at 3.7 yards per carry, allowing running backs to go at 3.7 yards per carry, which is 30th. Like, the 30th most. So they're good. They're really good against the rush. So I'm going to avoid any Arizona running backs. So let's wrap this up, and I'll get to the boys. Thanks for jumping in the chat, boys. Tom, he's like, look, I will. He's blaming Riverside, which I think is some sort of tech that he has to deal with himself, and we'll continue to blame the tech that they use.
Isn't it some teen drama on Netflix, Rowan?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's Riverdale, isn't it?
Oh, okay. I wouldn't put it past them to watch that stuff.
Maybe I've outed myself as knowing that.
Yeah, it's on you. Seymour's, welcome. Check out the boys at Aussie Fantasy Football.
They probably just wrapped up their show for the preview show.
Yeah, they probably just did. That's right. Anyway, stacking this game, Arizona, Minnesota. Look, Murray and Hopkins is the only way I want to stack this side. We haven't even talked about Minnesota. I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah, come on, man.
This is how much I don't care about Minnesota. Look, Kirk Cousins, 12,870. Only going to get there if his pass catches get there. So I think there's a sneaky stack option here. Yes, CMOS, there was 67 points in this game last year. So look, it could be something. It could be something.
Could be something. Could be nothing.
That's right. It's hard when I look at the other options. But Kirk Cousins, he hasn't really hit a ceiling at all this year. 23 points is his highest. And I'm like, whatever. But Arizona, they're not that great against the pass. We know this. Arizona defensively are 27th in DVOA against the pass. So it's the place to attack them. It's through the air. Now, Jefferson has been an absolute superstar. He's hit 100 yards in 4 out of 6 games so far this year. And he's priced up there, $17,500, just a little bit cheaper, about $900 cheaper than Tyreek Hill and $1,300 cheaper than Cooper Kupp. So people might want to push down into Justin Jefferson's zone because his ceiling is pretty much equivalent with those other two.
Yep.
The one thing that I have noticed with these Arizona games, though, is that they love to take down the number one receiver. They got Byron Murphy there with an extra safety constantly playing the number one wide receiver on the team, and they're happy for the other guys to just take it, which means that the other guys are productive. Devontae Adams, if we want to go back to Devontae Adams' Arizona game, really did get shut down. He had a hit. That was the 9.2 that we were talking about. And 9.2 from Justin Jefferson just sure ain't going to get it done.
Yes.
And we've seen Justin Jefferson get shut down. think of that Philly game earlier on in the year and that Detroit game. That's crazy. But so the floor isn't there for Justin Jefferson this week, and so he's not safe. So he's a GPP play. That's really where the only place I'm going to play.
Is he going to be popular though? And so is he just the fade?
It's a good question. It's really good. Like I think he's priced nicely compared to the other two, and so that's in his favor. I think
people are going to be ending up getting to the end of their lineup in their flex, and try to save salary, and they'll manage to get to Jefferson, but not the other guys.
Yeah, I think that's quite probable. So anyway, I think like you don't play him in cash. That's probably where I'm at with JJ. If he does fail, then I actually think a sneaky stack with Thielen and Smith, Irv Smith at tight end, could be good leverage. And I think no one else is really going to want to do that. Like that's going to be a really low-owned stack. Kirk Cousins with Adam Thielen and Irv Smith. But if they can attack the Cardinals through the air and the Cardinals go up against Jefferson and shut him down, then where else are they going to go? It's these two. So I'm a big fan. KJ Osborne, though, is as well. He's at 6K. So that's a nice little stack piece as well. So if I'm going to stack this game, it's Kyler Murray and Hopkins. Bring it back with either JJ or Thielen. Or you go Cousins and JJ if you want to push with the JJ and one of Thielen or Smith. Because like I said, if you want to stack Cousins, you've got to double stack him. He's through the air. He's not on the ground. Bring it back with Hopkins. Or, and I like this, Cousins and Thielen and Smith. No JJ. And bring it back with Hopkins. So I don't mind that at all. So, anyway.
Very good.
Peachy, great to have you on board. Thanks for joining the chat.
Thanks for making sure Rowan didn't win the mini on the weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. No. Well done. Seriously,
anyway.
He got a DFS, and he took out the mini on the weekend. Just pipped me at the post, but he did extraordinarily well, which is good on you, mate. That was great.
That's good. Look, it made me smile. Anyway, last matchup. I mean, to be honest, I almost felt like, ignoring it. Like, if you look at the first three games, we had a 51 over-under, then 49, then 49. The next game we're talking about has a 43.5 over-under. Come on. Like, we're talking about Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Philadelphia are 11-point favourites at home against a putrid Pittsburgh team this year. Like, the only reason we're including it is because really Hurts is the best quarterback on the slate. There's no Allen, there's no Mahomes, there's no Lamar, even though Lamar's not really Lamar at the moment. But Hurts is really the only premium guy on there, and so we need to look at him. They're also like one of the highest implied team totals on the slate as well, with 27 implied points for Philadelphia, if you look at the way Vegas is thinking this game's going to go. So it's a one-sided game here. You're really only looking at the Eagles side. Pittsburgh, look, they're actually an okay defense. They're actually 9th in defensive DVOA, 3rd in defending explosive rush as well. So Hurts won't mind, though, having to rely on the pass. Like, maybe they shut down any explosive runs, but he will happily pass the ball around, against a team that's 30th in explosive pass percent, dead last over the last 4 weeks. And so, look, this is a chance for Philly stacks to really hit as Peachy is on already. Early mail from the mini champ from last week, Rosa. Rosa. Never called you Rosa in my life, but I did.
You've
just
called me
then.
Rosalind before, so
yeah, I call you Rosalind all the time. Rosalind works, as you're slightly effeminate in nature. And anyway, sorry, I'm just blowing off some steam.
All right, sure. Let's. Arch, I mean to talk football. Thanks.
Yeah. All right.
Numpty.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just got involved in paying you out, and that sort of took the focus. But look, let's talk about Philly. They are second in drive success percentage. Like, they score. They bloody score. If we look at look at all metrics of Pittsburgh offense versus Philly defense, it's a massive mismatch again. Pickett, from Pittsburgh is going to have a rubbish day. Or is going to, things are going to be tough for the guy. Philly are third in fewest schedule-adjusted fantasy football points allowed to QBs. He's not going to have a good day. Do not think that, it's a little smart leverage players to go to Pickett. No, it's not. All right, look at that. He has no ceiling. No one's playing Pickett. Let's move on. I don't even know why I even entertained it. Philadelphia, that's where it's at. This is a stack Philly, no bring back situation. This is, makes me think that this could be, can we stack Pickett and Darius Slay? That's a great one.
Love it. Love it from Tom Otten. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good from you. Anyway, let's look at, he's the only pay-up option. It's going to command some ownership. Is this a game, Rowan, where Hurts gets out to a big lead and then they sit on it? This has happened earlier in the season, but he still bloody got there, didn't he?
Yes.
So it's sure, he might just, rush out and score 30 points in the first half and then do nothing. Look, that's enough to go, all right? So, Hurts is definitely in play here. He only needs 2 quarters against Pittsburgh through the air. A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are great values if we look at the wide receivers. But can both get there, Rowan? That's what I wonder. I had a look at their game splits, over the season. It's only happened once in week 3 at Washington. This is not an at Washington situation, I don't believe, because I don't think that they're going to be able to match and, peg it around like Wentz can do. So I don't think this is going to go as far as what Hurts needed to go, and I think only one's going to get it. And when you look at the way to exploit Pittsburgh, it's the explosive deep passes. This is Devonta Smith week. That's what I reckon. And look, old mate Peachy's jumped in as well.
Look at this, the
All
timing on that, on your Peachy. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look, as watching this, I think watching this team for this year and watching how they play, yes, one is the concern of do they slow it down in the second half? And I think you got to really consider that. Devonta Smith, though, he's the guy that can make it get it done. He's shown that he's got a higher ceiling in this outfit than A.J. Brown does.
Yep,
which is it's quite ridiculous to think about, but it's what's happened.
Look, I'm going to sprinkle both of them in there,
for sure.
Obviously.
You have to.
But I think potentially Devonta Smith is the play here. Maybe he'll be more popular having that 2K discount, but I think still people just feel better about clicking A.J. Brown, though, than Devonta Smith. So I don't think you need to overthink the ownership on that side of the ball. Goddard could be in play here. I don't like that he's over 10K, Rowan.
Yeah, it's not a pretty price, but for what he can be, he's still a guy that could catch 7 for 60 and a touchdown. Like that pays off that. So I don't mind it.
Yeah, I don't know if I can do it. Pittsburgh, let's look at that side. No, let's not. Do not force a bring back here. Look, maybe Pickens at 8K. Maybe.
I'm happy to go Pickens.
That's it.
I'd be happy.
No one else. Do not touch Najee Harris. Do not touch anyone else. No. All right.
Sure.
How am I stacking this game? I'm thinking it's just Hurts or Brown or Smith. Done. I'm thinking only single stacks. I'm thinking, I'm not really Miles Sanders. As I said, their best defensive quality is against the rush, and so I think that Miles Sanders might just be an okay week. Doesn't return the value we need to win a lot to win a GPP.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's fair enough. Yeah, no, I believe that. Yeah, Sanders, though, I don't know. Decent leverage, perhaps? 11,560.
Yeah, there is that.
I don't mind Miles Sanders. I think that's just, you have to always think. And if you're not going to stack this game, but you want access to it, then perhaps Sanders is a way in.
Sure. Yep.
Anyway. I like it. Good stuff. All right, well, let's run through our positions. Let's run through the leftovers, the guys that we are happy to play still that haven't quite made our 4 key matchups. Arch, you're going to look at the quarterbacks for us to start off with?
Yep, and this is purely just looking at game environments and implied team totals. The next highest one that we haven't actually included is Dallas. So Dak Prescott is potentially in play here. The only worry is it's a 42.5 over under on the game against Chicago. Chicago aren't the worst defense rolling around either, but I think second week back, let him, first week with Dak, wasn't, amazing. What did he get? 8.9 points or something like that?
Yeah, it was 12.3.
Yeah. So obviously we need a little bit more out of a 13K quarterback, but he's just coming back. I think pairing with CeeDee Lamb or Schultz, I think he could potentially give you another stacking option on the slate.
Yeah, he'll be super low owned. I really think it's a potential. It's a potential. I'm gonna leave it there. Value plays. I'm gonna look at. I've got 2 years. One, I still think Daniel Jones is mispriced for what he can do. He's sub 12K, and last week he went off against Jacksonville, put up 100 yards on the ground.
Yes.
Only it's just got the bonus there for rushing, which is awesome. So against Seattle, right? Seattle we know aren't superb against they did okay the last couple of weeks defensively, but I don't know. Daniel Jones just he kind of speaks to me a little bit. So Daniel Jones is there, but the other guy I want to go to, Davis Mills.
Mills.
Oh, look, Davis Mills, friend of the show, and he's Tennessee. Tennessee giving up the third most pass yards per game over the last 4 weeks. Tennessee, they're not hard to pass against, really. That's the main thing here. And Millsy, well, last week he put up 300 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yes,
against Vegas.
Yeah.
Hey, he had the bye. He came back strong. Who knows what this rookie can do? So
Millsy.
If you want something sneaky, there's that. And hey, Sam Ellinger. Anyone want Sam Ellinger? The new guy for Indianapolis, 9,580. It's cheap.
It's
cheap. Just go to Andy Dalton. Everybody.
Yeah, you just keep going.
Don't be stupid. This is the one you want. This is the one right here.
Oh,
Andy
baby.
Dalton at
That's your
8K.
value.
Play that guy. So, yeah. Anyway, there we go. Let's flip over to running backs, and we've got up the top here Saquon Barkley against Seattle. Just you can't really stop Saquon Barkley, can you? Let's be honest.
No.
He's averaging 20 attempts and 4 targets per game. Seattle giving up the third most rush yards per game. And that's where he's getting it. That's really where he's getting it. We talked about Josh Jacobs already. Can he be stopped? Probably no. No is probably the answer to that one.
No. No against no. New Orleans.
No against no. That's
in
right.
terms of
Tony Pollard?
abbreviations.
Zeke's been in the news. He's been hurt.
Yeah,
He's
why
on the
not
injury
play?
report. And against Chicago, and when Tony Pollard gets the start, he is the number 1 RB going around. I think he's only started once. But that 1 week he started, he was the overall running back 1 for that week.
Yep.
He's explosive. We've seen this already. People have been calling for Pollard to take over the backfield for ages. And Zeke's still there punching it in the goal line. But if Pollard can be the guy, because really, I don't even know their third string running back.
Don't worry about
Nothing
it.
to write home about, surely. Pollard's the guy. At 11,800, if Zeke's out, I'm going to smash Tony Pollard.
Yes.
He's going to be a massive play in my lineups because I love what he can bring to the table. So Tony Pollard's going to be good in that regard. But let's get to our premium play of the week.
Show me the money!
Derrick Henry is our premium play of the week. Did you see Josh Jacobs last week? Arch. He scored 3 touchdowns and had over 150 overall yards. Well, he played Houston, and Derrick Henry is playing Houston this week.
Yes.
Houston are the worst in rush DVOA. He is averaging 22 rush attempts per game and 2 targets per game, mind you. He's second in the league.
Yes.
In yards after contact per game. He has 15 broken tackles to his name. He is going to just monster this team. This is just such a good play. So smash Derrick Henry. You just got to play him because I can't see him failing. At $15,210, I can't see him failing. He is our premium play of the week.
Love it, Ron.
Not Devontae Adams.
Look, don't worry about it. Henry's a funny one. When is Henry chalk? When is Henry not chalk?
It's so hard to figure that out.
Oh, is this a chalk Henry week? To me,
if he gets
locks
hidden, love it. I
Yeah.
can't wait for that to happen if he gets hidden.
This is where I hope Zeke goes down and everyone just rushes to to play a Pollard chalk, and so this will open up. If I can fit Jacobs and Henry in the same lineup, I'm feeling good about myself.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do a quick. Who would you rather, Henry or Barkley?
Whoa. Yeah, probably Henry, actually.
Okay, Henry or Kamara?
Yeah, definitely Henry.
McCaffrey or Henry?
Nah, not playing McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's me either. Josh Jacobs or Henry?
Yeah, I'll probably go Josh Jacobs.
Okay, I think I'm going to stick with Henry in that spot.
Yep.
So that's probably where we differ there. I just think Henry is an easy, he has such a good pathway to the overall RB1 of the week. So I love Derrick Henry.
Don't trust
this week.
Tennessee.
That's fair.
Not that I trust Las Vegas too much, but just the workload Jacobs is getting and what he's been doing.
Mate, Derrick Henry has a workload of 22 attempts per game and 2 targets per game.
Josh Jacobs is why I love DFS and why season long gives me the shits.
Me too.
Because everyone was off Josh Jacobs, me included. No one was excited about him. But in DFS, it's a new season every week, and I can be excited about Josh Jacobs now.
Yeah,
it's great.
I agree. All right, who's value running back, Arch?
I don't know.
It's not much.
Look, yeah, well, that's it. I was a little. All the guys, it's watch the injuries, see if something happens. But maybe Dante Foreman for Carolina as they're working things out. Most people think it's a full-blown, 50-50 share. The guy got 100 yards last week. The guy's got a...
He had a big 60-yard run, I believe, though.
Yeah. I think Foreman's the play there. Falcons ranked 28th in defensive adjusted line yards, 26th in rush DVOA. It's a low total, but I think the opportunity's there for Foreman. Potentially they milk the clock as well if they get ahead. I don't know. I think that's probably the best of the low price guys.
You could go Foreman in the Panthers D. Don't mind that.
Yep.
Wide receivers, the best of the rest, Arch. We mentioned Dak.
I've mentioned Dak. I'm going to mention CD Lamb. Look, Chicago give up few points to wide receivers. It's actually, a little bit scary. I think they're second fewest schedule-adjusted points allowed to wide receivers. But I think with Dak coming back, I think CD's got the versatility to just move around the field. They're not just sticking him in one spot. They're moving around the line of scrimmage. So I think they can work him into the game plan pretty well. He's clearly Dak's number one target. Dallas, fourth highest implied team total. There's points going to be had here. And I think CD's, not many people want to probably click on him with him not being in one of these big game stacks and not really hitting a huge ceiling over the last month. It'd be nice to get on him while everyone's off.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
It's a talented guy. I like going back to talented guys when they've had disappointing, weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of value, let's speak value.
Yes.
Gallup's scary, but you could go back to him. He goose egged last week, but look, hey, a Dak stack with Gallup will be unique, that's for sure. Actually, look, Wan'Dale Robinson is getting on the field.
Yes.
And for the Giants, and he's been garnering a target on 35% of his routes and has been increasing his routes each week. That's pretty nice to see. He kind of looks to be the number one target in New York at the moment amidst so many injuries.
Who else is there?
That's it. Well, the other guy I kind of wanted to mention is for the Giants is Darius Slayton, and I think the only reason I mentioned him is because he's so cheap at 6,700. Look, 3 weeks ago, 6 for 79. Last week, 3 for 58 and a touchdown. He has the big playability, and look, it's just there. It's just there. Darius Slayton is an option for cheap, and if you want guys that are cheap that can pull off massive plays, he's kind of one of them. So
I like your next guy more.
Yeah. Brandon Ayuk. San Francisco are dealing with the potential Deebo Samuel injury, which is a big question mark, really. So watch that space. But even if what we saw the last couple of weeks is that when San Francisco were playing from behind, then they passed a heck of a lot more. We saw Kittle and Ayuk be serviced really well by Jimmy G. And I'm liking what I could bring to the table this week, especially if the Rams get off to a good start. If Cooper Kupp comes out post-bye and they, hit their straps, then and they start off in front, then I actually think, because San Francisco's defense very banged up, very very banged up at the moment. Kansas City exploited that big time last week. The worse the defense, the more a team usually has to pass, and so Brandon Ayuk here at 9,300 after two solid weeks, 7 receptions, 8 receptions.
Oh, outrageous! It's great. It's a misprice. Would you like a player that gets 11 targets at 9K, Rowan? Yes, please. Where do I sign? Like,
yeah, big time.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on to tight ends. Sticking with San Francisco, George Kittle came out and won me lots of money last week by putting up 21.8 points. Out of all the guys up in this top range, we know that Kittle is the yak god. He is the yards after contact god who can just break tackles and push down the field. So Kittle last week went for 6 for 98 and a touchdown. And yeah, I think we've got a solid play here at sub 10K in George Kittle. I'll be looking to go to him again, especially if Deebo Samuel misses. But hey, even if he doesn't miss, and if Samuel's around, chances are that'll push Kittle's ownership down a little bit more, which I think is actually good for us who want to play him. So I'm going to go to Kittle anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we know what Kittle was capable of a few years ago. Like, it's only been injuries getting in the way. He's had a good run now. Like, we shouldn't be surprised that he comes into form eventually. Yeah, especially with the quarterback that he's comfortable with.
Very much so.
I mean, value at the tight end land. We've already mentioned Gesicki. Like him this week. Gesicki and Juwan Johnson are my 5K guys that I'm probably the most sort of on. Yeah. Juwan Johnson is just involved a little bit more. He's on the field more than Taysom Hill. Caught a touchdown last week, so he's definitely in play there. If you want to look, keep looking for cheap guys, can I interest you in a Tommy Tremble? I'm not that keen on him too much, but 74%
for the Panthers. Thanks.
74%, routes run though on his team participation, so that's not too bad. He's clearly ahead of Ian Thomas now. Caught a touchdown last week. That's probably how he got there.
I had to scroll a long way for that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of 5K guys there. 5K flat. What about an Austin Hooper, by the way, at 5K versus Houston? Could do worse.
Look, if you really want to.
Could do worse.
You could do a lot better, but
like I said, it's Gesicki and Juwan Johnson as your 5K, punt players at tight end this week.
Totally.
There's not too much else, as illustrated by what I kept talking about.
That's right. Let's finish off with some defenses.
Yes.
Just tell me the names. Don't need
Colts, turnover opportunity, leverage off of the Washington. Washington's going to be chalk, right? And so potentially Colts is a way to get off that on the other side. New England at home versus Zach Wilson. That could go well. And, any team playing Chicago is going to get sacks. And what team is really good at getting sacks? And that's the Dallas Cowboys. And so it's worth paying up for these guys this week.
Yeah, I like paying up for the Cowboys. Value, look, I know we just kind of bagged the 49ers defense, but typically this year the Rams have been giving up a lot of sacks. Stafford's been hitting the ground a lot, so it's here. Not a bad option, I think, for 5K. And, then the lower end, and you said Washington already, so, playing against Ellinger, that great quarterback. No, kidding. Anyway, so there you go. There's our run through of the rest of the positions, and as we're going to do, we're going to make a lineup in a minute, or try to at our best.
I don't think we've ever hit a minute, Ron.
What was that?
I don't think we've ever done our lineup in less than a minute, but let's try. Because that's what we need for TikTok.
That's right. All right, let's go now, and I'm going to fill in straight away with
lineup
Andy Dalton.
Starts with Andy Dalton
and Chris Olave. Let's just make that happen.
Do you want to throw in Juwan Johnson in tight end land? Just for
sure. Let's make it really, really cheap.
Yes, cheapest stack you'll ever get.
That
right. Could actually be good.
We're coming back with Adams.
Yep. Do you want to do what? Well, let's not go Jacobs.
I don't want to do Jacobs and Adams.
Let's go Henry. We've talked about Henry.
Yes, we want to do Henry for sure. We have a lot of options here, which is great. Defense. Let's go with the Commanders.
Yep.
And now we've got $13,000.
It's a nice
position.
Situation, isn't it?
This is a beautiful thing. Do you want to pay down at running back or pay up at wide receiver?
Well, according to my research, Ron, I do want to have my flex be a running back. So
so who's our last wide receiver then?
Should we go Devonta Smith? We talked about him earlier as a potential play.
Sure. Want to have access to that offense for sure. Yep. No worries. All right. I like that. Running backs. We've got 13,000 per left. I think we need one of these 11K guys.
What about Mostert?
Yeah, I'm happy with Mostert for sure. I've got 16K left.
I don't like McCaffrey.
No, I don't like these guys either.
Jacobs could be a guy.
He could be. But Adams and Devontae... Adams
that's
and
true.
Jacobs is a bit tricky. Potentially, we could go... Not sure. Look, let's leave it there. Because
I don't mind the double.
Vegas,
I don't mind the double bring back.
Look, it's rare. It's rare that it truly works out. But Adams
if
and
this
Jacobs
is a shootout, those are the two
Vegas.
pieces that you want access to.
That's 100%. All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks once again, everyone, for jumping in. Thanks for everyone jumping in the chat. Love seeing you there. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Find us at the TFL Podcast.
All the places.
That's it. If you've enjoyed the show, hit like and subscribe. Please. That's it right now on YouTube. If you're listening on the podcast, jump onto YouTube just to see our ugly mugs and enjoy the show in that
Apple
form as well.
Podcast reviews as well, Ron. I like them.
Of course.
Written reviews saying that you enjoy our scholarly debate.
100%. That's right. Gamble responsibly, everyone. 1-800-838-838. And we will catch you. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And we will catch you next time for week 9. But have a great week 8, everyone.
Bye-bye.